Okay, the Board of Directors Midwifery meeting is convening at 8:07 a.m. on March 11th, 2021 at the Health Licensing Office in Salem, Oregon, by telephone conference call. I will now call roll. Meredith Klein, I'm here. Beth Iva. Beth not here?
No, she wasn't going to attend today. Haven't.
Okay. Wendy Smith is coming shortly, hopefully. Christine Morales.
Here, sorry.
Kelsey Fisher.
Here.
Lynette Pettibone.
Here.
Meredith Mance.
Here.
Okay. Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. For the record, public members calling into the public phone line are asked to email April Fleming at april.fleming@dhsoha.state.or.us and provide your first and last name. Public and interested parties' feedback may be heard during the public and interested parties' feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. This meeting is called to order. So let's see.
This is Kelsey, and I move to approve the agenda. This is Christine, I second.
Okay, motion has been made, so I'll call roll. Meredith Mance.
Aye.
Christine Morales.
Aye.
Lynette Pettibone.
Aye.
Kelsey Fisher.
Aye.
And Meredith Klein. Aye. Okay. So our first item of business is adopting the permanent rules, the cultural competency requirement that we talked about, 2 meetings ago.
Yes, Sammy here. I'm having a problem with my mute button. So yes, nothing changed from the proposed rules. Nobody came to my hearing, and nobody put in public comment. So everything's stacked. Can you hear me?
No, I can't.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So again, rules are just like they were when we proposed them. Adding the 1 hour cultural competency every 2 years, and nobody attended the hearing, and nobody put in public comment. So, and then we'd also be removing just that line item in renewal or in continuing education audit that says that we can audit your main staff report, since we removed that last time. So those are the only 2 changes.
Would you mind repeating what's being removed? Because my computer just froze. I don't know if anybody else's did.
So, if you remember last time we did rules, we removed the Manistats requirement to report that, but I didn't remove it from the audit piece where it says we can audit you, we'll audit you for these items. It has bloodborne pathogens, CPR, and then it had Manistats. I just took that line out. So we won't be auditing you for something you're not required to do anymore.
Perfect. Thank you for catching that, Sammy.
Yes, I didn't catch it the first time. I thought it the second.
That's okay.
That's it.
Yeah, this is Kelsey. Unless anyone else has anything that they want to change, I think in the absence of public comments, I would love to just make a motion to vote on them and adopt them as a permanent rule.
This is Meredith Smith, and I second the motion.
Okay. Motion has been made, so let's take a vote. Meredith Mance.
Aye.
Lynette Pettibone. Aye. Kelsey Fisher.
Aye.
Christine Morales.
Aye.
Meredith Klein. Aye. And do we have Wendy Smith yet?
No.
Okay.
And then just as a sidebar, I'll be working with Ann, the other analyst, to put out communication on where you can get the courses. We're still waiting for OHA to make their rules on that. So as we get closer, we'll be putting out communication so you guys know where to get things. So be looking for that in your email sometime. When OHA gets there sometime. Hopefully soon.
So that's going to be more specific than the rules we already have about where people can get their courses?
Yeah, they're supposed to make rules around what would be descriptive on what types of courses would be and where you can locate them. Still not totally sure how that's going to turn out, but it's supposed to be more helpful. So you guys have a place to go, know what can be approved. So
Okay.
We'll be waiting for that.
I would just chime in that as long as it's not restrictive, that would be fine. I think we want to be able to continue to use our current sources.
And I think that's going to work. I'm not 100% sure until I see their rules, but I think we made our rule big enough that you could do a board-approved one if it matched the similar things that OHA is going to require. Is that right, Sylvie?
Yes, that is correct. So
Very
you
good.
have to put in rules what kind of classes would meet the requirements, and then you could take a class that meets those requirements. That's the way the bill is written.
We're just waiting on that. Hopefully it'll be soon. I'm trying to weasel my way onto their committee, but I haven't seen a committee request come out yet. That's all I've got.
So there's nothing else to report in that section?
Nope.
So,
You want me to go?
yes, please.
Okay, the director report. The only thing that I had was to talk to you guys about thinking about the next meeting, the April meeting. We're going to ask you guys to come up with a recommendation for a committee for the LD&D. So not as in people, but as in types of positions. So just think about that between now and then. For instance, 3 midwives, 1 nurse midwife, 1 school owner, whatever. But just think about that between now and then. And at the April meeting, we'll have you come up with a list of the types of positions you want on that committee. They're going to do a full review of LD&D, make a recommendation, and bring it back to you. Trenthy's going to start working on that, but you're going to need to know the types of people you want on it. So, other than that, let's move right along to the licensing staff. You've seen these reports before. But as you can see, we're not issuing a lot of registrations, so not a lot of new people coming on. Again, Q1 of 2021 is actually July, August, and September of 2020. And then the next column over is renewals process. Next slide just shows the active licenses as of March 1st, again broken out by age and gender. You have no males that are in this profession. There's Wendy's, and trying to log on at the moment. Good morning, Wendy. Can you hear us, Wendy?
Yeah, I said something.
Okay, so Wendy, we can't hear you, so I'm assuming you're driving. Are you driving? Well, Wendy's there, so hopefully she can hear us. Moving on, next slide is just the long-term trend. You've seen this before. Is again, it's the averages by quarter. Pretty steady. Next slide is your financials. Again, same information you've seen quite a bit broken out. This is as of March 1st, so that would have been the financials as of the close of January for the 2021 year. Any questions before we just go flying along? All right. Next up is policy report, Sammy.
Yes. So policy report is very vague. We have hold on here, I'm getting to it. The legislative summary. The only thing that would affect you guys is us getting the genetic counselors board, which is, where's that? It's just moving along. Hold on here. It had a hearing, and then we're kind of just waiting for it to have a work session. Other than that, everything's pretty specific to other boards, specific to their boards that wouldn't affect you guys. That's all I got. I know, short.
Except for the one about the high school diploma, right? Would that technically affect our board?
Not necessarily, because you guys don't have to prove that you graduated high school. Some of our boards have statutes that say you must have a high school diploma, and so it's going to affect those boards, and you guys don't necessarily have that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then to add to what Sammy was saying, there's another bill that's out there that there's no amendment to it yet, but it's for sign language and interpreters. And so if there's an amendment that moves it underneath of us, that'll be another board that comes under us. And how that affects you guys in the long run is that we currently are at 16 boards and programs that have shared services. If we get 2 more, then we'll be at 18. So then your percentage will change due to that. But again, that's up to the legislation. We'll see how well those 2 go forward. So genetic counselors have, I think they're less than 60 individuals. And then in sign language interpreters, I would assume would be quite a bit more, but I don't know. I don't have any of the information on that one yet. They wrote the bill where it goes under health authority generally, and I do believe that was not necessarily the intent. The intent was to put it in our office, but that just means an amendment needs to come to reword it, so.
Very good. Good to know that one. And that's all I have for policy.
All right, go ahead, Bob.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Bob Balko for the record, and
You might want to unmute yourself, Bob, if you're going to talk.
can you hear me now? Okay, Bob Balko for the record. So we still have a 17-19 biennium. We're tracking. There's 3 open complaints on that, and I have notes to myself that we're in some sort of phase with writing reports and notices on those. And so we had 21 complaints in that biennium, 18 are closed with those 3 open. And in the current biennium, the 1921 biennium, we've had a total of 12 complaints. 6 are open and 6 are closed. Any questions, concerns?
All right, this is Sylvia again. COVID-19, we have been sending out emails, and hopefully all you guys got the email. I don't know if I talked about this at the last meeting, but about the vaccinations and who to contact and where to go and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully you guys received that email. It was an email blast that came out. It's not necessarily from an individual in our office, but a lot of times it goes automatically to your junk mail. So hopefully you guys all got that. And then I know that OMC was working with OHA's COVID unit to make sure that you guys were eligible as a medical professional to get the shot whenever you wanted it. So hopefully you're not having issues with that. But if you do, let me know and I can make sure that you get the information that you need if you need any information. So That was all I really had on COVID-19. So unless anybody has any questions. No? Okay, well then, Bob, will you find out if there is anybody who is on the phone who would like to make a comment? Because we're on item number 5.
Hi, this is Bob with the Health Licensing Office. Is there anybody on the phone that would like to make a comment?
Yes, this is Silka Akerson from the Oregon Midwifery Council. And I'd like to make a public comment.
Hi, Silka. Stand by 1 second. I'm going to turn the volume up on the phone so the board members will be able to hear you.
Okay.
Okay, Silka, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Silka Akerson from the Oregon Midwifery Council. Thanks for the chance to make public comment. I just have 2 simple comments. One, when you're getting reports in this remote meeting style, it would be useful if the things that are in visual reports would be restated verbally, like, the budget one. I'm only on the phone, not on the computer right now, and so I can't see what you're talking about. And then the second thing is, I am aware of 2 investigations that are quite a few years old that are still in process, and I feel really concerned about that for 2 reasons. The first being, it's just a very, very long time for a midwife and a family to be in an investigation process, which can be highly stressful. And, especially if it's a serious case, the midwife, and the family are wondering what the consequences are going to be. I really think the timeline needs to be shortened. But the second reason that I'm really concerned that some investigations are taking this length of time is that I've already seen this, and I feel like it will happen again. When there is a serious case and a very long investigation, I think the board doesn't have very much standing for consequences against someone's license when they've waited 3 or 4 or more years to then make a recommendation to remove someone's license. If it was, if this was urgent and to the level that it would require that kind of consequence, then it needs swift action. And when action isn't taken for years, and finally the board is saying this major consequence is needed, I think it undermines the process and undermines the authority of the board to make consequences like that. So I would really, really love for the board to talk about a way to ensure that there are no investigations that take many years to complete. I think it would be useful to look at the kind of timeline for investigations for other boards and whether they have any kind of limits or ways of prioritizing major investigations that may be related to public safety. So that's the main thing I wanted to say today. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Does anybody want to respond to that comment? Is that appropriate? To make responses? So that Silka is aware of, and who she's reporting to is aware of how the process goes and what we've been doing to change recently over the last 6 months to try to address that exact issue, because nobody is, I think we agree absolutely with what she said and have been trying to, continue to meet monthly and, have made this a priority also. So I'm just wondering if there are some things that would be helpful and allowed to be sharing with the public about the process that might respond to her concerns, at least.
Sure. Yeah, you're welcome to talk about the processes as long as you don't get into the specifics of any of the cases.
So,
yeah, this is Kelsey, and I'd love to. Oh, go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Kelsey, and then I'll follow up.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that the board absolutely has expressed similar concerns and sentiments about how long some of these cases take, especially when it does come to public safety. And we have kind of behind the scenes been trying to encourage our cases to take priority, especially some of these old cases. One of the complications that was made, that we were made aware of, is that the investigators that have to go through this process have a lot on their plate, and that could mean hundreds of cases open at once for each investigator, is my recollection of it. But I feel that we have been seeing progress in clearing some of these old cases, as well as moving our cases forward more quickly in the recent months. And on top of that, the board does have authority if a new complaint comes in that has, very severe consequences, or we feel that there were very severe rule violations. We do have the ability to temporarily suspend licenses in the interest of public safety. And we just haven't had anything that's come to that level, at least that I recall lately. So there are some mechanisms in place to both address some of these old cases and to try to protect public safety moving forward, as well as prioritizing the cases.
Thank you, Kelsey.
And this is Wendy, and I think one other thing I just want to add is that,
Oh, Wendy, you went quiet.
can we,
Yeah, start over, Wendy. You went quiet.
oh, sorry. So adding the option of having a mediation conference, I'm sorry, the name is eluding me right at this second, has been definitely extending some of the cases a little bit, and it's really kind of come from some delays, from both sides. And so I think offering those conferences has, I think has been received very well. On the other hand, it extends some of the timeline a bit.
Thank you, Wendy and Kelsey. This is Bob. So I'll speak to that if the board doesn't mind. Yes, some of the cases have taken an inordinate amount of time, and what the office has done working with the board is I pulled 2 investigators, and they both went through the cases that were outstanding quite quickly, and where we're at with them is where we're at with what you spoke about with regards to them getting closed. But when I do that, that leaves 10 other licensed boards that are not programs with the office, and that leaves me 3 investigators would to take care of those other 10 boards. So as a whole, the office investigates, it doesn't investigate, but receives over 300 complaints a year. And with the small number of investigators, things will take time. And we do move as quickly as we can through them. And there are processes in place to make sure the investigations are fair and yet complete. And the process itself, when we have to request for items, that takes time, and the board meetings coming together and has sped things up quite a bit. But yeah, I have nothing but facts to share, and unfortunately they probably sound a lot like excuses, and that's not what I'm offering up, but just facts of what happens here behind the scenes. So we do get through them just as quickly as we can.
And this is Lynette Pettibone, and there's just one other thing I would like to add, that would be a way that SILTA and the OMC could actually help with the process, and that would be to encourage applicants for the The subject matter expert, yes, that's Kathy. We had one subject matter expert and then a transition between a second one. So we need more than one, really, in order to expedite this through. It'd be good to probably have 2 or 3, because on occasion they're unable to participate. So that would be something ONC could help with.
You're on mute, Heather.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. So this is Heather, the Assistant Attorney General, which helps HLO and its boards and programs. And there was a standard that Kelsey had mentioned in regards to being able to immediately take away a license. And I just wanted to expand on that so that it was clear as to what she was talking about. And I believe she was talking about emergency suspension orders. And there's a specific legal standard that has to be met before that can be invoked. So while that is available to the board, there is a specific standard that has to be met. If that standard isn't met, then the other disciplinary processes are available to the board as well as their continuing jurisdiction over discipline. So just wanted to clarify that. I believe that's what Kelsey was talking about, and there's a difference there. But if that's not what you're talking about, Kelsey, then I'll refer back to you. Just wanted to help with that.
No, I think that's exactly what I was thinking of was the emergency suspension.
Well, thanks everyone for offering some more clarification. Are there any other public interested parties out there to speak?
This is Bob at the office. Is there anybody else on the phone that would like to make public comment? I'm not hearing anybody. Meredith?
So shall we move number 6, deliberation on a contested case? Let me find my script for that. The Board of Direct Entry Midwifery will now leave the public meeting pursuant to ORS 192.6901 to deliberate on a contested case at 8:35 a.m. on March 11, 2021. The deliberation will not be recorded and no final decision will be made.
For all board discussions and action.
Hey, Meredith, hold on a second. Bob, is the recording going back up again?
Yep, and the phone's unmuted. Doggone microphone won't unmute itself when I start talking. Yes, we're good to go and the phone's unmuted.
Okay, so we are on item number 8.
This is Kelsey, and I move that in case number 14-7699, that we amend the notice pursuant to the board's clarification.
This is Wendy, and I second that.
Okay, a motion has been made, so let's take a vote. Meredith Mance.
You're on mute.
Oops, hi. Lynette Pettibone.
Aye.
Kelsey Fisher.
Aye.
Christine Morales.
Aye.
Wendy Smith.
Aye.
And Meredith Hines. Aye.
Okay, Meredith, it's your, yep, go ahead, it's your next script. I want you to the executive session again. Okay.
Okay, let's do it. This is the longer one, yeah?
Yes.
The longer script. Okay, the Board of Direct Entry Midwifery will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602F and ORS 676.5.595 for the purpose of considering information exempt from public disclosure at 9:45 a.m. on March 11th, 2021. Representatives of the news media shall be allowed to attend the executive session by conference call and will be provided further call-in instructions shortly. The public phone line will be muted for the duration of the executive session. Are there any representatives of the news media on the public phone line? No. Recognizing there's no news media in attendance, the public phone line will be muted for the duration of the executive session. We will return to open session before taking any final action or making any final decisions. We are now in executive were made and no votes were taken in executive session. The public phone line has been unmuted and representatives of the media may once again report all board discussions and actions.
We're ready to go.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Kelsey Fisher, and I move that in case 21-10081 that we open an investigation. This is Christina, second.
Okay, a motion has been made, so let's take a vote. Meredith Nance.
Aye.
Lynette Pettibone.
Aye.
Kelsey Fisher.
Aye.
Christine Morales.
Aye.
Wendy Smith.
Aye.
I can't hear
And
you.
yourself.
Oh,
Okay,
oh,
go.
aye. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah, no, we got you, Whitney.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear. And Meredith Fine. Aye.
Okay, this is Sylvie. We're on item 11, which is public interested parties. Bob, is there anybody on the phone who would like to make a comment? And you're on mute in case you're responding to me.
Hi, this is Bob. To the public on the phone, is there anybody that would like to make a comment? Hearing no one.
Okay, I'll move on to item number 13, your other board business. Does anybody have anything? The only thing I have is to reiterate that the next meeting, to come ready to prepare to talk about who you would, the types of people you would like on the LD&D subcommittee. Remember, they're going to bring everything, a recommendation to you. You get to do the final.
We're sorry, your conference is ending now. Please hang up.
Other than that, does anybody else have anything you guys want to talk about or make sure is on the next agenda?
We had a meeting, Sylvie?
Sammy, are you still on the phone? And if so, what's the next date of the next meeting?
April, I want to say 19th, and I got to double check. April,
I
I
have
can also
something.
look it up.
15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
15th. Me and Serenity will probably come with a collective plan for the LD&D that would then move into rulemaking. So we're hoping to get that all combined for the April meeting, so you can kind of see the plan, the tentative plan. That's the plan.
Thanks, Sammy.
You're welcome.
So are we looking for feedback on membership for the LD&D review committee now?
No, we just want you to think about that between now and April 15th, so that, because you guys are going to have to come up with a list of, like, how many people you want on it, and of those people, what types of people, not the actual individual. Like, I don't want Jennifer Smith. I want 4 midwives, maybe 1 nurse midwife, an OBGYN, who knows? That's up to you guys to figure it out. And then once we have that list, we'll start recruiting for people to be on it. Because it takes a commitment, and they don't get paid.
Right. What's the general size of that type of committee? Like how many members?
Well, Sammy will give a better idea of that. You don't want too many people because then nobody can ever come to an agreement. But you want to make sure that you have every aspect, that has been addressed. You want a good cohesive group that has brought forward every quote side of everything or has thought about everything,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Usually between 5 and 10, it just kind of depends on the topic, the makeup, the amount of people that we, different types of professionals, things like that. What me and Serenity will do is we'll bring you an idea, like this many of this, then you can say no, yes, no, have the not, just take away that. So we'll give you some ideas, and then you guys can kind of go from there. And you'll get that in advance.
Okay, great, thank you. Does anyone else have anything else to discuss?
Yeah, this is Lynette, and there was indication that people had wanted to have a conversation about complaints and their source, particularly in relationship to insurers. So complaints coming from OHP or Kaiser, for example. Did we want to further that conversation or initiate that conversation here?
Well, sure. This is Wendy, and I can kind of elaborate a little bit on what I am thinking about that. I think when OHP first started covering community births, we kind of got a slew of concerns that were really not based in administrative rule, but were kind of, just sort of maybe record picking. And it did, and I know many of you were maybe not on the board at that time, but it did sort of color kind of how I viewed these concerns coming in from OHP in a way. But I think now that there is, more of an established move for coverage via OHP, and then I guess potentially in the future other companies, other insurance companies, it may be that understanding how to put concerns, a person who's covered by some of those insurance companies may not understand the process of putting a concern in for a community birth. I mean, I think I will tell you just from my own experience of hospital providers, they have no idea how to put a concern in, and I've had people come to me only because they know I'm involved in this type of work saying, what am I supposed to do with this? And so I think that I guess my point was we just need to be maybe open for more of these potentially maybe coming in this way, and to, treat them in a way that we would, any type of a concern that came in. I'm not saying that you're not, and I really was, though, saying that I took a look at a concern coming in from OHP and had a little bit of a different slant when I initially looked at it, and then realized, oh, this is just a different route into the board. And that's what I meant. And the reason I use Kaiser as an example is just, people who have that type of insurance, I think, don't know what to do with some concerns. Kaiser has these big, membership services, and so, they don't go to their provider, or they just go to this little, membership services and say, I didn't like what happened, and you're paying for it, so this is where I'm bringing my concern. So that's all I meant by that. And then, is that okay? And then could I bring up one other thing, or I'm happy to keep discussing that, or if anybody else wants to talk about that? Okay. So I think the other question, and I think we just want to, I want to acknowledge Silke Ackerson's concern about, the timely process for investigating concerns. And I certainly hear her concerns, and I, as officers, responsible for patient and public health safety, I mean, we take that very, very seriously, and I think we all understand that if there is a concern that comes in that we feel like is an immediate threat to the public, we do have a route to
manage that or handle it, and I think we can all acknowledge that. Otherwise, we are working within a system with some limitations, many of which are financial and resource-based, and we too would love this process to keep moving forward in a way that allowed for timely resolutions or more timely action. But it's, frankly, really difficult to do. And I think we've gotten far. I mean, when I first started on the board, there were so many more open cases, and they were certainly lasting longer and longer and longer. And so I feel like we have come a long way, and I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Wendy.
Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Well, Meredith, there's a whole lot of silence, so I'm assuming everybody's done.
All right, it's time for my adjourn script. The Board of Directors Meeting-03 meeting is adjourning at 10:57 a.m.